सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्, लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु. Om Sai Ram. It's a wonderful thing that it's Ram Navami today, and we're all here. So, day in which we always think of the Maryada Purusha. And then, of course, I'm so delighted that the first interaction between you and me is in the temple of Sai Ram, Shirdi Sai Baba. I'm really very, very touched by it. Before I begin, let me thank the wonderful singers, the music which we had here today when I walked in. I wish Lakshmi comes to all. Two kinds of Lakshmis. One is worldly Lakshmi and the other is spiritual wealth. Both are Lakshmi. Actually, according to the Sri Vidya, the Bijakshara Shreem represents both Lakshmis, Rajarajeshwari as well as Lakshmi in the ordinary sense of the term. The inner Lakshmi, of course, is the extraordinary sense. Okay, so since we are here and we are going to be here for a couple of days, going to meet, so I want to kind of continue with the talks in some way. There should be a link. So today I'd like to start with something you all know, but we need to look at with a little more depth. Here, as well as when you enter any Sai temple, or when you go to Shirdi and enter the premises, above the head on the top, two words are always there. You know the words. Nothing else is demanded of us. Two, Shraddha and Saburi. Saburi, of course, is the Marathi variation of the Hindi word sabar, or Urdu word sabar, which means patience. And Shraddha is variously translated. Some people say it's faith. Well, it is faith, but what is faith? So we'll look into this carefully. Let me start with the word Shraddha. Well, the earliest occurrences of the word Shraddha are in the Rig Veda. And then from there in the Upanishads, which are the essence of the Vedas. And in the Upanishads, I'm going to tell you a little story. You know, everything is interesting when it starts with once upon a time. Really, the kids who read Harry Potter, once upon a time. So, once upon a time, there was a great rishi who, see, when I said once upon a time, he's better. There was this great rishi. You know who a rishi is? I define a rishi as a spiritual scientist, one who explores the spirit, unlike the ordinary scientist who explores ordinary science, material science. This rishi is one who explores metaphysics and goes beyond. So, one of these rishis, great rishis, conducted a yajna. You know what an yajna means? You know, generally when you say yajna, you light a fire and you put something. Yajna, the word yajna means sacrifice. So, not animal sacrifice. Sacrifice in the, animal sacrifice in the sense that we sacrifice all our animal instincts, become more human. I mean, that's a better way of putting it. Anyway, so this rishi performed a yajna, and it is the practice that after the yajna, all the great Brahmins who come to perform some ringing echo sound, all the great rishis who come to perform the yajna, they have to be gifted, gifts are given to them. So this little boy, Rishi had a son, a little boy of 8 years, whose name was Nachiketas. Now this young boy was watching his father giving the gifts to the people who came to do the yajna. And he saw that his father was giving away old cows, cows that don't have milk, blind cows, lame cows, and so on, as a gift to the Brahmins who had come for the sacrifice. So the Upanishad uses the word Shraddha entered into him. That's why I'm telling you this story. Shraddha entered into him. So what is this Shraddha? The question of the young boy gives you a clear understanding of what the meaning of Shraddha is. When Shraddha entered into Nachiketa's heart, mind, he told his father, "Father, what is this? It's supposed to be a sacrifice. And you're giving away things you really don't need. Lame cows, blind cows, cows without milk, what kind of a sacrificial gift is this?" When you say sacrifice, you give something that you consider so valuable to you and useful to it, giving it away. Giving away something which we really don't need. Of course, even that is good, better than storing it in a corner, is not sacrifice. So then he asks the next question. I am your only son, and I am your dearest and nearest. You consider me as the dearest of everything on this earth. If it's a real sacrifice, who will you give me to? So the story of the Upanishad says that the father got angry and said, "I give you away to death." No, I don't take that. He was a great rishi. I don't think he got angry or anything. Probably he wanted to show this young boy who had so much Shraddha what death actually is, which stares everybody in the face. We don't know. We like to think it's not there, but it's there at all times with us. You know, great people, good people who have been seeing till yesterday, the morning the telephone comes, where is Mr. Who's gone? It's so intimate, we like to brush it under the rug, but it's there. I'm not trying to paint a bleak picture on Ram Navami, but it's a fact. So, probably the father thought, this guy who has so much Shraddha, which means what? Faith, understanding, sincerity and transparency. All these are included together in the word Shraddha. Not just faith, transparency, intelligence, sensitivity, feeling of justice. Everything is inclusive. But, you know, Sanskrit is such an ancient language that it's difficult to explain one word in one English word. Usually we use faith because that's the most common, what we know. It's much more than that. Attention, concern, Shraddha. In Malayalam, which has 40% Sanskrit, I'm not going to talk in Malayalam, don't worry. The Shraddha means, Shraddicho, they ask, did you listen carefully? So it's a big word. Anyway, so his father said, I give you to death. Terrible thing to say for a father. Big sacrifice. So the story is then Nachiketas goes to the land of death, to the palace or the office of the Lord of Death, Yama. Yama is supposed to be the Lord of Death. Unfortunately, according to the Upanishad, not my story, this was an untimely coming because nobody expected him as a young boy to come to the world of death today. So Yama had gone to pick up some other souls. So this young boy had to go and sit in Yama's office, consulting room, for 3 days, waiting for him to come. After 3 days, Yama came and he said to him, "Oh my God, here's this young brahmachari with a shining face, the son of a rishi, with so much Shraddha. He's come and waited in my room for 3 days. Nobody asked him, do you want water? Nobody asked him, do you want food? He's a guest. Atiti Devo Bhava, the guest is God. What a terrible thing." So he said, to compensate for this, ask me for, you can read this in the Kathopanishad. You have a copy, or go home and buy a copy. Kathopanishad. So he said, okay, as a compensation for waiting for 3 days with nobody tending on you, I'm ready to give you 3 boons. Ask for it, and you get it. The first boon is, of course, so simple and touching. The boy says, I think I'm going to go back. When I go back, may my father not be angry with me. May he receive me and recognize me and say, here comes my son. Then he wanted more. There's something, people say there is heaven and hell. And there are some who know that by which one can reach the higher worlds. Can you teach me that? So, Yama said, no problem. Okay, that's also granted. This is also granted, that's also granted. And not only that, he says that particular sacrifice or yajna which takes you to heaven, to the higher worlds, from henceforth will be known as the Nachiketa yajna, sacrifice of Nachiketa. He also says it is that fire of yajna, the yajna fire, that builds up our desire for reaching the highest. Fire is always represented as the symbol of spirit. You light a fire, you think it's just combustion. You light a fire. Fire always burns upwards. See this flame. Even if the wick is down, the flame is always up. 1. 2. A small spark is enough to set the whole world on fire. 1 is enough, especially in summer. We know people who live in California always worrying when the house is going to go up in fire. No? So, fire is both a destroyer as well as that which gives light. There were no electric lights at that point. Fire is, when you light a fire, you're lit, darkness is gone. Tamaso majyotirgamaya, lead me from darkness into light. And it's always burning up. It's that which also destroys all the bad, all the negatives, and takes you upwards. It's also the fire of desire. You always say, this guy is filled with desire to attain something. He is fired up. Even in the mundane sense, when you become a little old and you remember somebody who was in college with you, what do you say? Oh, that's my old flame. You don't say old water, right? Why? Because desire. Desire is represented by fire. So what do? You pour everything into it, all oblations. It becomes smoke and it goes up into the sky. Right? So, the fire of desire that irresistibly takes you to the absolute truth, that sacrifice was named after Nachiketas. It was called the Nachiketa sacrifice, Nachiketa Yajna. So 2 boons are given. Third boon. Third boon, Nachiketas asks Yama. Some say that when you die, it's the end of the world, everything is over, like a clockwork, it's stopped and done, there's nothing. Some say that the soul is immortal. Now, if the soul is immortal, is there some way that you can touch that? Which means what? Can I be free of death forever? Is there something which will free me from death? Not physical death, of course. He's already come to Yamaloka. Is there something which when I understand that there is no death for me? I am immortal. Mrityorma amritam gamya. See? Amrita is not what we prepare with sugar and honey. That's also amrit, very, very sweet. Amrita in Sanskrit means deathless. Amrita. Mrityu is death. So is there something by which I can understand that there is no death for me ever? So Yama says, this is also why it's called Shraddha. Yama says to him, look here my dear boy, don't ask me this question. I can give you the 3 words. I can give you music, bands and dancers. I can make you king of all the lokas. But this question don't ask me. It's a very serious affair. It's very interesting in the Upanishad. Nachiketas turns to Yama and says, keep your song and dance to yourself. There's guts and courage, that is Shraddha also. Keep this with yourself. I don't want any of this, your songs. And what would we do normally? We go to someone whom we think has all the capacity to give us what we want. But we go there and ask, oh, this is nonsense. It's very easy to say that, it's not easy to realize. There's an old story in Kerala about a lady who became very old, but she was still keeping the storeroom keys in her. So every day she used to go to the temple of the Mother Goddess, accompanied by her daughter-in-law. So for the benefit of the daughter-in-law, to show how she is disinterested in the whole world. Nothing against any mother-in-laws, please. I also have a mother-in-law. She used to say, Devi, why are you keeping me here? I have nothing to fulfill in this world. Please take me away. And then look at the daughter-in-law. So one day the priest decided that this hypocrisy has gone too long. I can't bear this anymore. So he went and stood behind the Devi. So Devi has many arms. He also put 2 arms. You can't make out. And she came and said, Amma, please take me away. He said, Varu, come. The story is that she screamed and ran for her life. I'm not ready yet. So it's not easy. Anyway, he said, can you really make me understand how to be free of this thing called death? Is there something like that? Do I really die, or is there something that does not die? Which give me immortality. So Yama tries all temptations. He says, take this, take that. Keep it with yourself. Then Yama understands. What would we do normally if you go to someone who is guaranteed, if you ask, he'll give you what you want. Of course, you must remember what Baba said in Shirdi. Sometimes I give people what they want with the understanding that at some point they will really ask for what I really want to give them. which is spiritual understanding, and mortality. So anyway, he went, and so Yama said, so what would we do normally? Somebody says, hey, forget about all that moksha business, it doesn't work. Can I give you a Mercedes? What would you normally do? Okay, give me the keys. 10 namaskaras and get out. That is not Shraddha. Shraddha is when one's mind is completely on what one really wants, spiritual. So Nachiketas was filled with Shraddha. He was only asking for the highest. He was not interested in songs and dances and things like that. You can sing and dance, that's not the problem. So Yama finally concedes the third boon. And he says, that which is beyond all death is the supreme reality which pervades everywhere. And the good news, dear Nachiket, is that a spark of that resides in your heart and in every heart. There is no place where it is not, but the human being is privileged to recognize it in their own hearts. Therefore, it's called Antaryami. If you conceive of the Supreme Being as Baba, you chant the mantras and say, Antaryamine Namaha, Om Shri Sai. What is this Antaryami? The spark of the Supreme Being, of the Supreme all-pervading reality. That spark is also immortal. That resides in every heart. Please, not the organ that pumps blood, this is not the heart I'm talking about. The core of one's consciousness. So, when you understand that, says Yama to Nachiketas, you attain immortality. You're never afraid of death anymore. You can turn around and ask death, where is the sting? It is Shraddha. The normal, when you say Shraddha, it also means faith. What is this faith? What do you mean by faith? Some people think, oh, this guy is, he's not intelligent, he only has faith. Upanishad says that the guy who is most intelligent very soon realizes the limitations of his intellect. But it's good to be intelligent. Don't put your intelligence in cold storage. Nobody's asking for that. In that case, why would the Gayatri mantra end with Yo Yona Prachodayat? May my intelligence and understanding be stimulated. It's important. However, the Upanishad says, and which is true, but the most intelligent person very soon realizes the limitations of his intellect. And if you realize that, then what is beyond? Is there something else? There's something which you can only, even at the start at least, accept on faith. There is nothing else you can do. Faith is so important. Don't put it in the back burner. It's so important. The fact, the belief that we are going to be alive tomorrow is faith. Really. Who knows? We have a faith. Yes, I'm going to be alive tomorrow. If that is gone, then there is no fun in living. Okay. I have faith in my fellow beings. Sometimes it is violated, of course, by some people. Agreed. But if I don't have faith in any human being, can I live on this earth? Just think about it. All the time I go, I think I have faith this way. So faith is an understanding that apart from our calculated conclusions and rational mind, there may be something beyond. Even if it is maybe, it's okay. This is my understanding. Faith is a hypothesis based on the fact that for thousands of years, many great and wise men and spiritual teachers have said that there is a supreme reality and you are linked to it. Somewhere, intimately. You don't know it, but all the people for 2000 years couldn't have been telling lies. You must have some faith. Let's take a scientific fact. There is this great Pythagoras theorem, for instance. I think most mathematics in school, college, you know what is Pythagoras theorem. It means the square of the, altitude, and the square of the base will give you the square of the hypothesis. But you don't know it, right? It's a hypothesis. You can't say, I don't believe in it, because you have to work towards it. So when you hear the hypothesis, what do? You sit down and draw the figure geometrically, and then you find out, yes, it is so. If you're not even prepared to sit down and draw the figure. If you say, I dismiss the hypothesis of Pythagoras, the theorem. So faith is the beginning of understanding that there may be something beyond belief. You don't have to accept it till you reach and find out what it is. You don't have to. From the Upanishadic point of view, you don't have to. But you need to at least start saying yes rather than no. This is also Shraddha. So Shraddha includes a great many things. It means now to have that kind of faith, one of the important things is that we should first begin by saying, I don't know. Very difficult to say. We all like to say we know. And there are some people who know everything. Everything. But then how do you start your journey? See, even a great scientific invention or a discovery has been made by somebody who said, I don't know, let me find out. And I know everything, so how do I find out? So that's also Shraddha, and that requires humility. It requires, and humility begins when you say, perhaps I may be wrong. Perhaps. There's shaking what we call our rational framework, of which we are absolutely certain. We have no grounds, but we are absolutely certain. So this shaking up is also part of Shraddha. When I say, which means that young married people come to me and ask me how to lead a clashless married life. I always tell them, I'm a married man, it is impossible, but since I'm not a monk, I can explain, okay? So, what do? They said, we went and asked somebody who was a sannyasin about how to do. I said, why did you ask the poor guy? He doesn't know. His ego is not cut every day at home, so he doesn't know. So if you want to lead a happily married life, people ask me, what do? Well, again I tell them you should have some Shraddha, some faith. And you should have the faith and humility. What humility? Please start your life by saying, I don't think I'm always right. That's all you need to do. It's very simple, but we're not ready to admit. You need Shraddha to admit that. I don't know everything, I may be wrong sometime. How? I may know Vedanta, I may know Upanishads, but I may not know how much salt to put in the sambar. Simple. I don't know. So the beginning of your spiritual journey, where I say, I don't know, let me find out, is also Shraddha. Or you can call it faith if you like. Now, there's also another reason to think about the word called faith. We are so absolutely sure of the world that we see that we accept it at face value. Really. I'll go from simple to more complex. In the aircraft, the air hostess smiles. You think she's kind. She's trained to smile, my dear. That's a job. What she actually thinks, we don't know. You have to look behind the curtain. She must, this guy is always asking for water. So she comes, I say. So why did I talk about that? I'm sorry, I'm asking you because you're sitting in front and you seem to have full attention.
Looking at things and it's not...
Yeah. So, let's look at it in a different picture from another angle, okay? We ask a small child who's going to school, and he'll say, I'm very scientific, I know everything. The sun rises and sets, every action is an equal, and so on. We can ramble off because he thinks he knows everything. His rational framework has been set. And then he goes to college, you ask him, then he knows also. But then he knows more, or she knows more. And then that's the rational framework. Then after some time, he goes to college and studies Newtonian physics. Then also he knows everything. Every action has an equal and so on. Gravity. And then some of them sometimes go a little further into higher physics and go to quantum physics. Not all. When they go to the study of the quantum, whatever, I don't want to deliberately say particle because we don't know. And then all the certainty that has been built up from college, from school to Newtonian thoughts ends. Because one of the most important theories of quantum physics is the theory of uncertainty. And what is the theory of uncertainty? Very simple, it's not complicated at all. Nobody knows, you can't see a meson or a subatomic particle, you can't see it. You can only know by reactions. You can't see it in any microscope, including electron, it's too small. You know through its reactions. In the reactor, according to the reaction, it's judged. Now the funny thing is, what the physicist has noticed is that if you think it's a quantum particle, and you look at it, observe it, it begins to behave like a wave. You think it's a wave, suddenly you see it behaving like a particle. Some scientists have even gone to the extent of saying that it depends on the observer. Not fully accepted by many. Like David Bohm was one of those nuclear scientists who said it probably depends on the observer. So the observer becomes more important than the observed. The subject becomes more important than the object, and they get interlinked in a very strange way. Interdependent. So where is the certainty we built up? So in that uncertain atmosphere, we say, oh my God, so there must be something else. This is faith. We think everything is going smooth. It should. We pray that it will, and it should. But then something happens suddenly. The person whom you trusted has cheated you. Or the person who was so dependent on died suddenly. Nobody can avoid that, right? And then what happens to the mind? The certainty is completely shattered. One doesn't know where one is going. So one begins to think, is there something beyond? Or is this all there is to earth, to life? That's also Shraddha. One sees. And anyway, suppose I say, look, all our rational framework is built on the data which is supplied to us by our five senses and then processed by the mind. Panchendriyas. In Sankhya terminology, there are the Panchendriyas, the five senses. They give us the data, and then based on that our mind builds up a picture and we conclude this is this or this is not this. All of us have only five senses. I don't know if anybody has six, but generally five senses. And the five senses are instruments of perception to this world, right? I mean, this is common sense. Now the five senses are, eyes, hearing, taste, very important. Today morning I was seeing something thing given for breakfast. I didn't eat it, of course, but the children were enjoying it. I don't know what it's called. It's like jam. Veggie?
Veggie bite.
Taste. Very important. Most people don't want to change their food habits, not because of health or not health, but because of the taste. You're stuck. So, taste. So, eyes seeing, ears hearing, chakshut, shotram, and then taste, and then what else? Touch, and smell. So important. When we get up in the morning before going to office, So, these are the five senses, and these are our instruments of perception, right? Now, based on these, the mind forms a rational idea about something, and we say, this is my framework, my blueprint. I won't budge. This is my blueprint. I want to ask you a simple question. Let's take one of these instruments of perception, eyes. Well, we have this normal, usual expression, seeing is believing. I just want to put a little bit of doubt into this, into your minds. Every morning, we see the sunrise, right? Every morning, our eye says that the sun sets. Schoolboy will tell you, sir, the sun neither rises nor sets. It's the earth that moves. But what do we see with our eyes, which are one of the most important instruments of perception? It is rising and setting. So can we trust this? Is seeing really believing? So, this is one example, isolated. This is the input. Is there any other in computer language? Input data. This is the data that is supplied to us. Even a simple thing like this can be wrong. Maybe. Let's not say wrong, but maybe. So, this so-called rational framework manufactured by our mind, based on our five senses, can it be absolutely true? No. If you say not, then what? That is faith. That's called Shraddha. When I say no, this cannot be. Is there something other than this? No? So, at every point we need this. Otherwise we are lifeless, we lose all our strength. We need some. And the Upanishad has this great message. It says, have faith in your inner self, which is the spark of the divine. Okay. So, this is not a comprehensive discussion on Shraddha. It's a small discussion on Shraddha. If you discuss Shraddha, you will go 3 days. We'll sit here and discuss. But this is, now we come to Saburi, patience. Now patience, I don't have to tell you how important it is. The more impatient you are, the more you mess up your life. Somehow, nowadays you are taught not to be patient. Push, don't be patient. But patient, if you are not patient all your life, it's very easy to become a patient. Very easy. High BP, you have all kinds of things. Why? I'm not. So, while it's okay to fix your attention on what you're doing and work towards it, that's called one-pointedness, Shraddha. It's also important to be patient about what's happening. Okay. Simple. You sow a seed, right? First you have to see if the soil is good. And then you have to sow it properly at a proper season. Okay, you have sown the seed. Now, does it instantly sprout into a tree? Or does it take time? It takes time. Now because it's taking time, is it wise to pull it up every day and see if the roots are growing? It'll never grow there. So patience is of the essence. Patience has worked wonders where hurry hasn't. Hurry has, but not hurry. So if you can just carefully look at these two concepts before you enter the temple and bow down. Shraddha and Saburi. There's nothing better than that. And if you can also introduce it in our daily life, a little bit of faith, a little bit of attention, and patience. If we can do that, I think most of our problems will be solved. Don't react immediately. You know how we live in this life? It's very interesting. If somebody says, I'm a wise man, I don't want you to say, but if somebody says, then I'm on cloud 9. If somebody says, I'm an idiot, I'm gone down. Nothing has happened, 2 words. What has happened? Nothing. I always tell people, suppose you called me a fool, and if I don't know English, what does it matter? What does it matter, really? I don't know it. Or I know Hindi, so I might think you're calling me fool, flower. So it's the meaning which we have given to words and our dependence on what others think of us, that creates the problem. We should be clear about ourselves. Doesn't matter what that, it's okay. Doesn't matter really. This is called Tulya Ninda Stutir Mauni. That's a beautiful statement in the Gita. Krishna describes a Mauni or a Rishi saying, Tulya Ninda Stutir Mauni, for the Rishi or the Muni or the Yogi. Insult and praise are put in the same balance and measured. One doesn't get carried away. Which is the way to calm the mind. This is also Shraddha. This is also Saburi, patience. Now, I come here. The microphone is not working. There's some sound. Now it's become all right. What did you do? You did something. You were tinkering with it. Anyway, and then I get, oh, this is not working. What is it? It means nothing. You come here to have good news. And I'm already upset with the microphone. It makes no sense. And if you are not upset and if you're patient, very often it put itself right. I'm not saying he didn't, but it could. So can we lead happy lives on this earth, understanding each other, bowing down to the Supreme Being, who resides also in our heart, with patience and with Shraddha? Can we look at, there are people, they're not happy if they don't find one negative thing in a day. Everything is fine, there's a person. So can you just keep it out? See, anger. I don't know if there are anybody here, but in Karnataka, there is a particular set of teachings which are called the Lingayats. Among the Lingayats, the founder of the Lingayats was Basaveshwara. Basavanna is called. And Basavanna has written universal truths in simple sentences called vachanas. Vachana simply means like Kabir's doha. In one of them he says, you idiot, you think that by getting angry you're causing harm to somebody? He says, you're burning your own house, you're setting your house on fire, nothing is happening to the other guy. Don't be so stupid. Angry. Why would we be angry with somebody? And if you really look at it, you will find generally that the reason may be in us. We have triggered it off. It must be something. And the psychology of anger is desire. You know how anger comes. I desire something or somebody. There's somebody else coming in the way. I'm angry with that person or that situation or whatever that has come between me and my object of desire. Sparks anger. So, can we understand this carefully and try to live with happiness, without anger, with faith, with understanding, with patience? We become good, the whole world will become good. You can't go and reform the world. You need to change here first. It has to start with oneself. Yeah, then people ask, if I don't get angry, how am I going to live? Nobody is going to listen to me. This was asked by a police officer, a lady, a very senior in Andhra Pradesh. She said, what am I? The moment I stop getting angry, she actually used the word, these buggers are not listening to me. So I told her the story of, which was very, Ramakrishna Paramhamsa was very fond of. You know, Ramakrishna Paramhamsa, I'm sure most of us from India would know. He was the guru of Swami Vivekananda. Many people know Vivekananda at least. So apparently, there was I'm saying this because we have to live in this world, be practical. Apparently, in a street somewhere in the village, there used to live a very dangerous snake, very poisonous cobra. So nobody would be around the street in the evenings because he would come out, and that's the end. So a brahmachari once came that path. And everybody warned him, don't go there. There's a snake and it's dangerous, it's poisonous, cobra. He said, don't worry about me because I know how to control snakes. So he went. So the snake came out and tried to bite him, and the brahmachari, I don't know what he did, he put him at peace. Probably he was too peaceful for the snake to bite, I don't know. But anyway, the snake understood that no, there's something nice and wonderful and also tremendous energy in this guy. So the snake said, now that this has happened, can you please teach me something, a mantra by which I can become like you? Strange desire from a poisonous snake. So the brahmachari agreed. He said, I'll give you a mantra, you have to chant it. But there is one condition. What's that condition? You can't bite anybody hereafter. So the snake said, since the snake had Shraddha, he said, okay, done. And he was given the mantra. 1 year passed and the brahmachari came back. And children were playing marbles on the street, no sign of the snake. So he said, hey, what happened? We're not afraid anymore. What happened to that cobra? They said, who's afraid of the cobra anymore? Why? Oh, don't you know that? He stopped biting. Oh, then they said, then what did you do? So naturally we pulled him by the tail and broke his spine, and he's lying inside the hole. He can't even move. Spinal cord is gone. So the brahmachari said, this is very sad. So he went and called him by name, and he said, oh, here I am, Guruji. He said, oh, okay. So I'm still practicing, I'm very peaceful. He said, come out. But I can't, my spine is broken, I'm in a lot of pain. So the brahmachari, of course, knew what to do, so he put his spine in order and brought him out. And he said, now I've made his spine in order, let me put his brain in order. And he told him, look, I told you not to bite. Did I ask you not to hiss, man? See? You're dealing with the practical world. Sometimes you have to hiss. You don't have to bite. Don't be poisonous. there is a problem there, but a couple of years people will begin to understand that you won't bite and they'll start doing things, but it's okay, we'll handle it when it comes. My driver knows, for instance. This guy doesn't bite, he only hisses, so he'll do what he wants. So, there has to be a balance. One has to work on this carefully. So I don't want to say anything more right now. It's 1 hour, no? Started at 10. It's almost 11, so it's 1 hour. Beyond 1 hour, these kind of subjects don't get inside. Already the mind would be. So it's better to take a little bit of food and digest it than eat too much and have diarrhea. So I'm going to, as I say always, rest my case before the jury. And we can have a little more time. We can, if you have any questions, but try to stick to questions which are relevant to the topic. But also if you have other questions, you can ask. We have about 15 minutes till 11:50. I think sufficient time. One condition, like the condition which the brahmachari gave to the snake, don't ask me political questions, especially Indian politics.
Would surrender be Shraddha as well? Surrender is Saburi as well. And I never seem to really surrender.
That's right. So what is real surrender? Real surrender is when there are no more questions. Not to me, the whole idea. So yeah, surrender means that you have figured out after a great deal of thought and great deal of effort that now nothing can be done about this. I can do, it's not in my hands. When I really see this, the problem is we always think everything is in our hands. When I really understand that this particular thing which I want is not in my hands, that is the beginning of surrender. Which means you acknowledge something other than your effort. Say something. Now I have surrendered. I have tried my best. Please don't say I surrender before you have tried your best. This is very important. Otherwise, it will, instead of surrender, it becomes laziness. Surrender is not that. Surrender is when I say, okay, that's it. Now I can't move. Now what? Then I give up. So it's also the surrender of one's ego, which thinks that it knows everything. Something to note. If that is not removed, one really cannot surrender. It's the ego that creates many problems. While self-effort is essential, I agree. However, don't think that it is the only thing that works. Believe a little bit to that. Any continuation?
Is there sometimes the self-effort itself is an ego?
No. Even to surrender, you need a lot of self-effort. It's not easy.
If I'm doing an effort, isn't that an ego as well?
If you are hungry, you have to eat. There is no escape. There is no escape. But, however, you should acknowledge that there may be things beyond me. And let me do my best and surrender. Or, if you don't want to do anything, if you want to totally surrender, you should be ready to bear the consequences. They may not be at the moment immediately pleasant. In the long run, yes, but not immediately pleasant.
Which one is the better one?
If you are surrender, by surrender you mean that you want to find the ultimate supreme truth. Then total surrender is good, but it is not easy. one can say it, but it is not so easy. Let me tell you a couple of a little story. Now, please, we won't behave like what the characters in the story behave, because we may not be ready for it. It's not easy. Apparently, this is from the Puranas, Krishna one day decided to go for a walk with Uddhava. Now, when Krishna told Uddhava, well, you can listen to it like a story, okay? Don't have to worry. Now, don't go into, is this history or not history? Just think you're reading Harry Potter. So Krishna said to Uddhava, let's go for a walk. Now, Uddhava, knowing Krishna for so long, thought that there's something behind this. He doesn't say anything without some meaning behind it. So he said, I'll come with you for a walk on condition that nothing strange happens. He said, okay, fine, you're my friend, so it's okay. So they went. After a while, Krishna says, I'm feeling very, very thirsty. So they are standing in front of a huge palace of a very rich man. So Krishna says, I'm feeling very thirsty, so just a minute, hold on. So he goes inside and asks this guy, the owner of the house, you see my friend standing outside? Yeah, this dark guy, you know, Krishna is dark. The very words in Sanskrit, Krishna is dark. Shukla is white. He said, this is dark friend of mine outside, yeah. He's very thirsty. He said, of course, guest is God, so come inside. Atiti Devo Bhava, come inside. So he gives him the best sharbat available at the palace. If it is towards the north, it must have been a big glass, I am sure. So Krishna drinks it and says, oh, this is the most tasty juice that I ever had in my life. So Uddhava says, now what is coming? Then Krishna puts both his hands up and says, may he become richer and richer, and may his wealth increase, and so on. Uddhava is relieved. Nothing extraordinary. Everything is going properly. Logical. Or logic. Then they walk half a furlong, and Krishna again says, I'm feeling very thirsty. So now Uddhava wakes up, gets suspicious. He says, just now he had this big glass, now he's again thirsty, something is up. So what shall we do? He says, see that out there is a kutir, a small, kutir, hut. You see the sadhu sitting there, a yogi, yeah? You go there and tell him, I'm very thirsty, get something to drink. So Uddhava goes and asks the yogi, yogi is just doing his abhisheka on the shivling, which is there. So he waits till he pours the water completely in. And then he says, my friend, you see this man, he is very thirsty, he wants something to drink. Yogi is very, very unhappy and sad. He says, what can I do now? The last drop of water I had has already been used for the abhisheka. Then he has an idea. He said, wait 1 minute. He has only one cow. And with him. He says, I'll give you some milk. So he goes and himself milks the cow. Krishna drinks the milk and he says, the sweetest milk I've had in my life. It was better than the sharbat which was given to me. Sweetest. So again, Uddhava is kind of nothing happening extraordinary, thank you, and so on. Suddenly Krishna says, may his cow die. So Uddhava says, what is this logic now? What justice is this? I thought you were an avatar. What is this justice? He gave you milk from the only cow he has. He is not a rich man. And you are saying, let his cow die. This is the only position. What is this? You are talking about ultimate surrender, so I am just telling you the story. Don't imitate the Krishna or the yogi, for God's sake. So what happens? So Uddhava says, what is this, Krishna? It's terrible. Krishna says, see, this is the thing. You've been with me for so long, but you cannot understand my logic. Your logic is different from my logic. He says, what logic? He says, it's very simple. See that rich man? He has lots of lives to go. Let him enjoy his wealth before he comes to me. Finally. This man, this yogi, is almost near me. He's about to merge with me. The only thing between him and me is that cow. He loves the cow. So I take off the cow and he walks into my heart. That's all I need to do. This is my love. Surrender. So, unless you're prepared to lose your cow, we shouldn't talk high-sounding words and say surrender. I'm saying be practical, go slowly. A time will come when you're really aiming for that merger. A time will come when you have no way out except that.
Can I ask one?
Some more people. Sorry. Anyone else?
And what's your name?
Amuldan.
Huh?
Amuldan.
Amal?
Amuldan.
Sarah, you just said, give me your cow, full surrender.
I didn't say.
Yeah, you just referred that. In Sai Satya as well, Baba said that in some context, then somebody is seeking for his blessings, ultimate Parmarth and everything, that in due course, your all the bad deeds will vanish and you'll ultimately merge with me. And then it was referred to that his wife died and then he ultimately accepted the begging bowl and then he met his Parmarth. So why is that a female is considered as a bad deed and after her death only that can be achieved? Why not a female can ultimately get that Parmarth with the person she's been living and his blessings be graced to?
Well, Baba was not an anti-feminist.
Yeah.
So it's not that the wife died and the husband got moksha. That's not that's what happened, but it could be the other way around. Could be that the husband died and the wife.
Why can't they both together work towards the goal?
This is also possible. You're talking about a particular situation. It's not that everybody should die to get
No,
moksha.
there were 2-3 couple of instances, and even here he had to surrender that love.
Now that is a cow, it's not his wife.
Yeah, but that is a love. That he's a sannyasi, he doesn't have a. But that is again his
Yes.
a person, a soul who has actually.
1 minute. Don't patience.
Yeah.
Saburi. So, what I'm trying to say is now the affection to complete one-pointedness to reach moksha, all the energy flows and all the love should be in one direction. That's why it's called one-pointedness. If it is divided, then it is not possible to reach. If you think you want to divide and reach, you should try. I can't say anything on this. In fact, great yogis have, after having touched the reality, seen everybody as the same. Before touching that, it's difficult to see that. Understand? So, the stories which illustrate this, the examples which we have, simply to say that there is one-pointedness only towards the goal, then you can reach the goal. It cannot get divided. Well, if one is so spiritually advanced that one can divide and still reach there, nobody prohibits one from doing that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not the death that is important. It's the feeling that I have lost everything, there's nothing left for me except that. That's what is triggering. So we have to be careful. Don't think that only if I do that I'll reach and I'll start doing it now. Nobody has to wish that the husband or wife has to die to find God. That's not what is said. To leave meaning, there are many people who leave a wife or a husband not for God, but because there's another lady in the neighborhood. So, you understand? Sorry, I didn't mean it.
Sano, in this instance, if for a normal householder, is it possible to have that undivided love, or should we accept?
Let me tell you something. We have to start from where we stand at the moment. We can't reach for something which we are not capable of doing. So we have to start from where we stand, right? So at the moment, we are all normal human beings. I don't know what is normal, but we are all I think I am a little abnormal. Not spiritually, but there's something wrong here. But till that happens, you have to start normally where you are, right? So you don't think that it has to happen because I have to be one point. You carry on with your devotional practices and your attention towards the Supreme. Keep on doing it and leave it to the Supreme to decide this. You don't decide this. You don't get into the picture, you leave it. But if something happens, then you have to be careful. I always warn people. They go after reading Sri Ramakrishna Paramhamsa's life, there are some people who go and stand before the image of Kali and say, "Oh mother, take everything away, just give me your..." I said, don't be foolish. When she starts pulling the rug, then you will start running backwards. So only when the mind becomes mature enough for that. So we have to continue with attention, Shraddha, and patience, Saburi, till we reach a stage where then if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't mean anything. It's not that all great saints have attained the Supreme by killing his wife or her husband. It's not. This was just an example. Get what I'm... So don't take examples as realities. They illustrate something. They show you something. So keep your mind there. Don't worry about that. And then as you progress, things will fall in place. This world is such a place, if you try to run away from it, it will try to grasp you harder. It's a fact. We have known it. I have gone through this. However, instead of that, if you continue to mature inside, then when the time comes, it will let go of you. You don't have to worry about it. How many 10 months in your womb, the muscles of the womb protect the child. 10 months. And when the child is mature, what happens? Which muscles push it out? The same muscles. The world is like that. It will not let you go until you are ready. When you are ready, you don't have to do anything. You are out. That doesn't mean you change your clothes or shave your head. Internal matter. It's nothing to do with the outside.
One more question. About mantra meditation.
One second, I forgot. What's your name? Huh? Shika. And you?
Subha.
Huh.
About mantra meditation, is it essential to be vegetarian to do that, or to follow the spiritual path?
May I say something? If I start telling people that if you have to meditate and evolve and chant the mantras and so on, you have to start by being totally vegetarian, I think there will be 10 takers. You can count them, the fingers of your hand. Therefore I tell people, you start your sadhana, continue, moderate your food habits. When I say moderate, it means keep it down. And then you realize after a while that you can survive without killing animals. Don't ask me, oh, plants are also living and all that. Okay? Plants don't have a brain developed enough to feel the pain that an animal feels. So let's not go into that. So a time will come perhaps when you don't want to eat, then you give up. If you enforce it, I have seen it happen, you enforce it. After a month, the mind will make you believe that the sadhana is not good. It won't say, I want to eat meat. The mind is very tricky. So, while you are accustomed to a way of life, stay with it, especially food habits. And then slowly go into yourself and try to figure out whether you really want to. And then that will be serious. It will come from inside you and you don't want to have it. Then you leave it. However, from the point of view of sadhana, of spiritual practice, it's good to be predominantly vegetarian at least. And let me also tell you that because you are vegetarian, don't think that a non-vegetarian guy is horrid. Please. Because we have known, I have seen in my life, I'm 68 now, I have seen people who eat meat, who are not vegetarian. I'm not talking about myself. People who eat meat, who are very good people, very kind people. What about the Christian churches and some of the people? They eat meat. They're not bad people. They are good people. However, there are strict vegetarians who have been terrible. Do you know that Hitler was a complete vegetarian? He didn't even eat eggs. And how many millions of people were sent into the gas chamber? Can you believe this? So we have to be careful don't pass judgment. You lead your life as you want. Don't judge others. Okay.
The main reason I asked is I do the Gayatri mantra with my kids when I pray at night.
How many kids do you have?
2 boys.
I was about to ask if you're married at all. How many?
So some days they eat non-veg. So that time I feel bad, but they out of routine, it's difficult for me to say you've eaten non-veg today, don't stop.
If you forcibly stop your children from eating what they love to eat, they'll go to the neighbor's house and eat it. So go about it carefully. And then they'll get very anti-Gayatri. In fact, today I was thinking I might have this talk on the Gayatri mantra, but then I thought, here let's talk about Shraddha and Saburi. Maybe next time, next talk perhaps. Sorry.
Sai my name is Ashish, and I just always have the question, are we born with our own destiny, or can we make our own destiny?
I have a suggestion. I would want you to read a beautiful work called the Yoga Vasishta. Nowadays there are translations available, wherein Vasishta says to Rama, a person who thinks everything is destined and doesn't put any self-effort is equivalent to a donkey. So this thing about, we always say destiny when there is something which we can't do. When we can do, we think we did it. When we can't do, it is destiny. So instead of thinking about whether it is destiny or whether it is all that, I think if you have an aim, you should put a lot of effort into it. If constant effort doesn't work, then you can say, oh, this is destiny. I personally believe that astrology is bunkam. So you're asking the wrong person. So I think all this thing about destiny can defeat a person completely. So keep that aside and think that you want to put effort into this. And see, if everything is destined, why would we come every day and say, please change this for me, I want to do this. If it is destiny, even he cannot change it. So don't get into this destiny business. I think you're a young man, you shouldn't get into this, at least. When you're powerless and old, we can get destiny. So, yeah, there is one thing. According to me, there is past life. I can't prove it to you. And there is no way I can prove it to you, but it's my experience, it's my life. So, sometimes when things happen in this life for which we find no reason, it's because of the self-effort you have put in some other life. Therefore, the most important part of the karmic theory is how can we use the present situation we are now so that our future is good. You can't go back to the past and tinker with your past karmas, right? Can we? No, we can't. How? It's gone. We don't know what the future is, right? Except what the astrologer told you after taking a leaf from your checkbook. What we know is today, now, what we have now. So the central theory of karma is, what can I do now so that my future is safe? So instead of speculating on this, why don't we work on what we have at hand and move forward?
Saira, my name is Nirupa. Yeah. In this corner.
Yeah.
No, I thought this little one was okay.
My question is that with great difficulty, I found Baba, and thank you, Baba, and then Baba said, go to Akkalkot Swami. Found Akkalkot Swami, started praying to Akkalkot Swami. Akkalkot Swami pointed me to Babaji. And so I'm confused in the faith space. What would I do with so many masters? And which masters do I pray to?
You can pray to all of them. Well, we have, I am personally speaking, I have great regard for Akkalkotkar Maharaj. All the people you said, I have great regard for. So I can't say go here or go there. But we have a solution for this. I tell people, when you meditate on the Guru, if you really meditate on the Guru, now you say which Guru, which teacher, which Maharaj. In our practices we have something called Pada Sevana. Okay? Now Pada Sevana means bowing down before the Padukas. Now when there are Padukas, we cannot decide whose Padukas. Don't look at don't have to go to the face. Keep the Padukas. In our practice we keep the Padukas in our heart. And we have a sankalpa that these are the Padukas of all the great spiritual teachers we have. And if my parampara comes from Sri Guru Babaji, I give a little more importance, that's it. But otherwise, it's the Padukas of all the great spiritual beings in the heart. Known and unknown. There may be many unknown. In fact, the unknowns are probably bigger than those we know, but we don't know. So, fixing your hand in the Padukas with closed eyes, say, I bow down to all the great teachers. From time immemorial to now, please lead me from darkness to light, and chant. We chant Sri Guru Pyo Nama. You can chant anything you want. I think that is a nice way to adopt. If you do that constantly, a time will come when it will occur to you automatically which one you particularly should be attached to.
Okay, one more question. I saw an interview of you talking about your second book, and you said that there was something that Shirdi Sai sort of mentioned. I can't recall what exactly it was, but he said that you did mention that it was not the right time to reveal to the world.
What is that? I can't put my finger on it. I've got confused about my autobiography now. What was that?
It is, and it was also in reference to the first book and the second book that Baba revealed something to you.
In the first book.
In the first book. And he gave you the coins.
Yes. In the Autobiography.
Yes, so I also read the second book, but I just felt there is still something more that you probably wanted to say to devotees.
But it
was
not there in the book.
No, I couldn't.
Let's keep it to ourselves.
It's in the YouTube. So I wanted to know what it was and whether
really?
you would ever reveal it to
Really?
us.
So my God. So
I've been waiting.
people are watching YouTube. No, this is dangerous. I can't remember really.
In the Soul John's interview with American psychologist, you
Uh-huh.
had asked that. He asked you,
Okay.
will you, what is your connection? He said, I'm going to reveal it in the second book.
But did I reveal it in? No. Okay. So let's wait. I thought I already written it and I forgot, and I'm wondering how this is possible. Yes.
Pranam, how can I start my spiritual journey as a child?
A little person of your age has never asked me this question. So first I'm stumped. So, yeah. You know how you can start your spiritual journey at this age? Very simple. First of all, consider your mother, okay, as the God you can relate to. Mata, Pita, Guru, Devam. When I say Mata, Pita, Guru, Devam, it means the first Guru is your mother, then the father, then the Guru, and then God. So first, think of her as someone who has brought you into this world, and consider her as God number one first, and then try to go to the next step, which is think that God or Supreme Being, whatever you want to call it, because when you go to college, somebody may say there is no God, so you say Supreme Being. I'm telling you, one day he will come and tell me, if I am still around, that yeah, you're right, somebody told me this. Inside the heart, conceive of a small spark, like a flame or like a diamond, and say that this spark is a spark of the divine. Put your hands there, bow down. Whenever you come to this temple and stand before this Baba, you say, please help me to move forward. It's a good start. Don't do anything complicated, not for you. It's very simple. What's your name?
Sai Gayatri.
Sai Gayatri. Sai and Gayatri.
Thank you.
You know, actually, whenever I go around, I keep looking to see if there are any young people who might do things. I've lost hope with the grey hair. I have grey hair myself. Because the future, even of the spiritual growth and also of the world, otherwise, is in the hands of these young people. So it's our responsibility to keep them exposed to the spiritual things, so that when they grow up, there's something in them. They're not just caught up in.
So I just want to add to what she as a child, my daughter, I see them kind of like a dual personality in them. Sometimes she just close her eyes, sit in the balcony and listening to Himalayan Masters, and she said, I saw my soul in him inside. And sometimes she is like real crazy and shake her bottom, and I just feel how can that be like to this kind of personality, and how I push them towards like one.
Can I give you an example? You have heard of Swami Vivekananda, right?
Yeah.
At this age, he was such a terrible fellow. he also used to sit and meditate sometimes, but the other times he was such a terrible fellow that his mother thought that he is an incarnation of Shiva's Ganas, the ghosts and ghouls. So don't worry about that. That's the energy in her which she's trying to take it out in some ways. But that she also sits down and meditates is a good sign. So you are the mother, so you need to look at both and try to balance. Don't get worried about it. I was also terrible. So terrible that at the age of 19 I ran away from home. Don't do that. My mother suffered a lot.
Saram, Namaskar Guruji. Just wondering in this trip if you have any time for any initiations of Kriya. You were here for a couple of days.
There was no intention of having a Kriya session. Let me explain this to you. Well, we can have it if that's your intense desire. We can surely work on that. But let me explain this. My parampara is Kriya Yoga. Okay, fine. But I don't believe that you can advance spiritually only by practicing Kriya Yoga. I don't believe this. Because I want to ask you a question. What Kriya did Mirabai practice? Nothing. You can't say she didn't have darshan. You can't deny it. Okay. On the other jnana side, Gyan side, what Kriya did Ramana Maharshi practice? Nothing. Simply who am I? Invented. Doesn't mean if you keep chanting who am I, you can go there. He did. So it's not that Kriya is a special thing and also because somebody is doing Kriya, don't think the other guy who is not doing Kriya is lesser than you. Plus, in the Yoga Shastras, there are many Kriyas. There are 108 Kriyas. Out of that, when I say Kriya, it is one particular lineage of Kriya that has come from Sri Guru Babaji. This is what I mean, but there may be many other Kriyas. You should keep all this in mind. And just because one is practicing Kriya regularly, it doesn't mean that you advance spiritually unless you change your lifestyle. Change your mindset, not lifestyle, mindset. For instance, if I say I will continue to be as I am, I'll continue to be as I am, I will get angry with people, I'll do this, I'll do that. Evening I would like to go to the sanctuary where I can have the spirit which comes in bottles, and still I will practice, not you, and still I will practice Kriya, and this is not possible. So the very fact that one wants to do Kriya means the Yama Niyamas have to be set in order in daily life. If somebody is a good person and is not doing Kriya, I think he may also spiritually advance. He or she, sorry. She also can spiritually. I'm sorry. No, I'm very careful nowadays, No, it's quite legit. I understand what the thing is. And in a country like India where the supreme energy itself is considered to be feminine, Shakti, I can't understand how people became a little bit mixed up. So anyway, this I have explained this much about Kriya. Now if you still feel like, and Kriya is not done to fly in the air or float in the water or anything of this kind. Kriya is done to shift your consciousness from the gross to the subtle, to awaken the energies which are in everybody but which are sleeping. This is the function of Kriya. So if you, after thinking over it, if anybody really serious, and you have to practice. Once a day, definitely you have to practice. Otherwise, you shouldn't waste time taking Kriya. And because you have taken Kriya, you don't have to change your belief systems. Suppose you love to go to temples, Because you have taken Kriya doesn't mean you shouldn't go to temples. Suppose you don't want to go to temples. Because you are taking Kriya doesn't mean now you should start. You know what I mean? Goodness and not causing injury to others is more important than any other mode of worship. So whatever mode you can continue with it and still do Kriya. And you must do at least once a day and you'll spend half an hour doing it. If that is settled, then certainly you can take Kriya. I don't charge anybody for Kriya, so that's not the thing. I want really that I don't waste my time and energy, and people are sincere. So that's why I'm saying, even if you don't practice, it is okay. It doesn't matter. You can still meditate, you can do japa, you can do what you want. It's not that you should take Kriya. So, in which case, at some point during the next few days, we can have a session specifically for those who want to take Kriya. You need to work that out, then you can have Kriya. That's okay. But please practice, otherwise I would feel kind of defeated. I give Kriya and people don't practice.
My name is Shraddha Upadhyay. I have read your first autobiography, courtesy Sanjeev ji, and reading that book I got an impression like a human life is like a life after death. It's a journey, basically you take birth and life. So, which is probably a prominent belief of Hindu religion. You have 8.5 million species and human life is one of them. So, but sometimes when we, recently one of the scientists Steve Hawkins who died, and he was basically a believer of the opposite of that. He said there is no God, life is just a coincidence, and when you die it's just like a computer shutdown and there is nothing after that. So it basically leaves people like us to basically try to believe things on logic, confused what's really. So what's your take on those things?
I don't know much about the great scientists like Hawkins and so on. I know only what I learnt, and I try to share it with people. And I don't think there is anything illogical in this, except that there are things which you don't see, which you can't say don't exist. I think that's very logical. There are things which you don't see, which you can't say don't exist. As I said earlier, you can't see quantum particles, you can see only reactions. In the reactor, you can only guess that they are there, you can't even see them. But you have to believe to have a proper physics theory that they exist. In the same way, if that much is understood, then perhaps we can, and then this is very practical. You start by suspending your belief system, and then you move forward. And if you achieve, then you can accept it. If you don't, you can drop it. We think it is there. I've read many books. I have not read little bit Hawkins, but I always keep reading books which come on this subject, because we need to deal with these things. Like after Richard Dawkins wrote a book called The God Delusion. After that, among youngsters, it's become a fashion not to talk about God. But I read the book. I have also read his book called The Selfish Gene. I have a completely different take on that. He's a sincere man, no question, 100%. But I think that kind of sincerity is sometimes essential to shake people up, so that they can go to the reality and not get caught up in illusions. That's true.
My name is Pushpa. How do we check ourselves in spiritual path? Because I just have the God as my guru, like Sai Ram and Putpati Sai. They are the ones who guided me to what I am today. But I really feel that I need a guru, a physical guru. But I don't know whether that is necessary in one's life or if not. But how do we check ourselves whether we are progressing, or how do we get the guidance? Thanks.
Let me start with your last question. last statement. Sometimes it is better to have no guru at all than having a wrong guru. Physical, I'm not talking about this great being, I'm talking about a physical. It's better not to have a spiritual guide, so-called, than to have a wrong person, because then you will wander for many ages round and round in circles and reach nowhere. Okay. Having said that, this particular field that we are in, the spiritual field, is a largely unexplored territory. So, somebody who has walked before you, at least to some extent, can be a good friend and guide, who can guide you and say, wait, there is a hole coming up here, slow down, and so on. So that way, practically, yes. I'm talking now about a physical person. Yes. Now there is the other side, which is even if you have a teacher, the teaching should be more important than the teacher as a personality. Suppose I'm standing here near the road and you come to me and you say, how do I go to some place which I don't know in Australia, what place, so you want to go there. Suppose I know the place. If I don't know the place and I say that I know, go this way, then I am a false fellow and you are going to suffer. Suppose I know and I say this is the way to go. Now, if you have to reach that place, what will you have to do? You have to go. Move. Instead of that, if you stay there, garland me, do arati to me, and you stand there, can you reach there? No. So therefore, what I'm saying is, while it's good to have a teacher, and don't suddenly accept somebody as a teacher because either he is good looking or he is wearing some paraphernalia, to take some time to figure out, to be with that person, to figure out what you should take or not. And then once you have found it, then follow the teachings. Don't get too attached to the person. If you get too attached to the person, you will not follow the teachings. Huh? And if there is no, nowadays on the outside world, there is no criteria, standard criteria by which you can recognize a spirituality. Not possible. So you need to know the person. First, there are a few criteria. Does that person really want to give you something, or does he want something from you? Criteria number one. Is he giving you something spiritual, or is he selling you something spiritual? Two. And three, is it through the outer paraphernalia that you recognize him, or does he have the qualities of you? And what are the qualities? Is that person under all circumstances calm and quiet and tranquil? Or is he only in the hall when you are talking, not in outside? So how do you know that? Only by constantly. So what I am saying is, suddenly don't fall and say that this is my. Wait. Anyhow, you have Sai Baba and all saints leading you. They'll probably lead you to the right person. But I agree, sometimes it's nice to have someone who can guide you. I'm fully with this. But then, I want to tell you a nice Sufi story about the guru, about the teacher. They also have gurus. They'll call them Sheikh or Murshid or something. Apparently, there was a man. If it's a Sufi story, it should be in the Middle East somewhere. There was a man who was so concerned about spiritual matters when he was very young, at this age. But then he was born in a very poor family, so he also had this wanting to become rich, because he suffered. So he worked very hard. And in the process, his desire for the spiritual got left behind. The flame was there, but it was very small. He became rich. Then at the age of 55 or so, he decided, okay, now then he realized, he thought that by becoming a rich man, he would have bought all happiness. He found that he is not happy. He said, if money, he discovered the hard way that money cannot buy happiness. So it can buy an air conditioner or a good bed, but it cannot buy happiness. So he said, now maybe I should pursue that little flame of spiritual desire which I had. So now that I have everything, I don't need to make more money. So he sold everything. Not sold, he gave it away to his children and his inner circle. Just kept enough money to build a small hut somewhere in the oasis and go and stay there alone. Meanwhile, he had collected many books which he had read. So he took them all and went and stayed in the oasis, studying, meditating. We'll come to the Guru thing. And then, since he was going, since he was a rich man for many years, he didn't even know how to make a cup of tea. So he went to the village, looked around and found a cook, and he took him and he went there. 7 years he studied his books. At the end of 7 years, he realized that this thing which I am searching needs a guide. It's not so easy. I need somebody to guide me. Without it, I am going to have trouble. So then he started the search for a guide. So he went to the deserts. Those days in the deserts, there used to be hermits sitting and meditating and so on, doing their, whatever they call it, zikr or whatever. So he went to them. He was not satisfied with any. And then suddenly he saw a man coming, okay, wearing a big green robe and a green turban, rosaries around his neck. So he went to him. Hey, I didn't see you before. Suddenly I noticed that you're sitting here. So anyway, he went to him and he said, sir, you seem to be a venerable teacher. Can you accept me as your disciple? Man said, first of all, I don't know you from Adam, so I don't know if I should accept you as your disciple. But however, even if I decide to accept, I have a very serious problem. My master has disappeared for 7 years. I don't know where he is. So I will find out first where he is, and then I'll ask his permission, and then I'll take you as a disciple. So this man said, but where will you find him? He said, I'm searching for him, that's why I'm here. He said, if you describe this, I can also help you, but I am looking for a teacher and you have to teach me. So he said, okay. So he gave him a description. He said, he's a very short man. Upper body is usually bare, he only wears a lungi. And he always has a towel on his left shoulder. He said, all this is any special quality? Yes, he's a great cook. So this guy said, wait a minute. Now this seems to be the description of my cook who came with me from the village. This cannot be. 7 years I am here with him. He's cooking for me. So he said, sir, can you please come with me and see if this guy is around? Maybe. So he said, okay. So they went, and the kitchen door opened, and out came the cook with a towel on his shoulder. As soon as he saw him, this venerable man with a beard which was so long that he could have put it into his shirt, bowed down before him and said, oh master, where have you disappeared? He said, I was with this guy for 7 years. He said, but he's looking for a teacher. He said, yeah, it took me 7 years to convince him that he needed a teacher. Okay? So now he's looking for a teacher. So you please accept him as a disciple because I have other things to do, and walked out of the place. You know what? I think you get, these Sufi stories are like Zen stories. A teacher may recognize you, you may not recognize it. Maybe. So we'll see how it works out. Relax. Do your devotion. Call on Baba, say, please send me somebody, and carry on. See ya. Huh? Don't fall into wrong hands. That's what I'm afraid of.
Namaskar. My name is Vaibhav, and I have a very small question. The place where you were born in India, from the very first day, it is told that moksha is your eventual goal. You need to get moksha.
To me?
Yeah, everyone who is born in the place where I am there.
I didn't get it.
Yeah, no, from the very beginning it said that you are born here, eventually you will have to get moksha.
Who says that?
People, in general, that's what told to everybody.
Really? I thought nowadays when children are born, they are told you have to make money. Who tells them to get moksha?
Yeah. I am from Chhattisgarh, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, then little later, then when I read your autobiography and thought that your eventual goal is to get enlightenment or even walk in the spiritual journey. But now I'm confused that where to start and what is my eventual goal? What should I do?
Do you think it's a good goal to reach spiritual fulfillment? What do you think?
I think, yeah, that's what gives me peace. If I come here, sit here, listen to you. Or
okay, so then it is the right thing to do.
Yes.
So now there need not be any confusion regarding this.
Yes.
So move forward. Whatever you do in this outside world, okay, set apart for some time in your daily life to sit quietly and contemplate. Start with that. Okay, don't run here, there, just stay. You come, sit down quietly, meditate, think that the God who is outside is also sitting inside my heart. Keep chanting. If you are coming to the Shirdi Sai Temple, keep chanting Om Shri Sai Antaryamini Namah. One who is sitting inside. Keep chanting and sit quietly and allow your mind to settle down. Start with that. And in your daily life, make sure that as much as possible you don't cause hurt or injury to others. And a small moderation in life. Don't eat too much, don't eat too little. Don't sleep too much, don't sleep too little. There has to be a moderation. With this you can start. And if you need some help, I think you are a very sincere man. I'm there. If you want to come, otherwise it's okay. Huh? So it's 2 hours satsang now. We started at 10 and it's almost 12. So I think we'll wind up for the time being. And then tomorrow is it? Tomorrow? 10 o'clock. But tomorrow is a working day. Oh, tomorrow is a Sunday. Okay. You're all welcome tomorrow also. I may talk something else, but ultimately it will be the same, moving towards the same thing. We have to look at it from different angles, right? 2000 years ago the Rig Veda said, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vedanti. There is one truth, but the wise may call it by different names. So different angles to the same truth. Different rivers flowing into the ocean. We are looking at the ocean. Thank you very much. Nice to have sat with you all and shared. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat.